Australia's Liberal Senator Dave Sharma. We're going to start on divestiture with you, because it's something that's coalition policy now to break up, get the supermarkets to, I don't know, sell stores, whatever it might be. Will this lower prices, and is it a feasible policy in your view?
Well, the policy is about encouraging more competition in the supermarket sector. Now, in Australia, we've got three dominant players, predominantly Coles and Woolies, and then Aldi to a degree, that control about 3/4 of the market. That's a more concentrated sector than other comparable economies, Canada, the US, the UK. So what this power is about, and it's a last resort power, but it's designed to promote more competition in the sector and curb abuse of market power. Now, there's been pretty clear evidences that Alan Fels and others have thrown up about companies in dominant positions abusing their market power either with suppliers or with consumers. And I think ultimately we need to see more competition in the sector, and this is one tool to do that.
I was told you actually expressed concern about this policy in the party room.
Well, I don't talk about party room discussions because it's not good for the health of the party. But the idea of party room discussions is to raise questions about a policy and to interrogate it, and to make sure that you're assured that it's going to have the outcome.
So it's all fine now?
Well, I'm assured that this is part of a set of measures designed to promote more competition in the sector. I want to see lower prices for consumers. I think we all do. I don't want to see big players abuse their market power, but I want to make sure that we remain a market economy. So, you know, I had to be reassured that these divestiture powers were going to be used sparingly. There's a public interest test. You know, there's various caveats to it. But ultimately, I mean, Alan Fels, former ACCC Commissioner, well regarded, has recommended these powers. Gina Cass-Gottlieb, current chair of the ACCC, has said that this would be a useful power to have in her toolkit.
Well, why stop where you are? It's just supermarkets and hardware. Why not go further?
Well, I think this is where the evidence has led to date. I mean, there's certain sectors in the economy that work perfectly well, where there's a high degree of competition, low barriers to entry, multiple players and the ability to choose. Supermarkets, look, we have this in energy, and this is why we have quite strong powers, the government, in energy. We have it to a degree in banking, because there's big four players and we have quite strong regulatory powers there. Supermarkets are not a dissimilar sector in that respect in terms of the level of market
this
concentration.
Country is a massive landmass, and to service the places where the Nationals represent, don't you need a larger organisation to have the economies of scale to service some of those parts of Australia? This seems the irony of the fact that the tail's wagging the dog here with the National Party driving this policy.
Yeah, but I don't think this is about disrupting economies of scale. I mean, I accept that, you know, Coles and Woolworths do some things quite efficiently, but there is undoubtedly an imbalance of market power. If you're a supplier, if you're a dairy farmer, if you're a cattle producer, if you're a lettuce grower, you've basically got two people you can sell to, and they can use that position to exert leverage in the relationship. I mean, it's not uncommon to use competition policy to address these sorts of
There's
things.
a new group in Australian politics. It's called the Muslim Vote. It's going to run pretty single issue around Palestine as well. Would you be comfortable if it did a preference deal with the Liberal Party that meant perhaps Labor MPs could be ousted in New South Wales?
Well, obviously, I don't take these preference decisions. That's a decision for the party machinery. But I'm not particularly comfortable with parties that are organised around an ethnic or a sectarian or a religious identity. I don't think we have a tradition of that in Australia. You know, I worry about what it would do to our political culture. If there's a Muslim Australian party, every other minority sect, faith group could then set up their own political party. And to me, that's a recipe for a fragmented political system.
You don't make the decision, but it doesn't sound like you'd be comfortable if... I mean, it could mean the electoral math is forcing Labor out for Liberal. Would that be something you'd urge the party to think twice about doing?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be personally going and soliciting their support. I'm sure I wouldn't get it for that matter anyway. But I don't think these sort of minor parties we should be seeking to do deals with. I mean, philosophically, I'm comfortable with the idea that we don't always have to direct our preferences and we can let voters decide. But
the how to vote cards and the deals, that
yeah, with a compulsory preferential system, you tend to need to do that.
What about Kieran's point earlier about huge policy nuclear? Here it is. Well, let's go talk about something else. It's almost like you're ashamed of it, isn't it, the Liberal Party?
I don't agree. And I did see the point Kieran raised. I mean, firstly, it is a very big policy announcement, and there are multiple more stages of this policy to be announced, and we'll be revealing more details closer to the election. We're also conscious, though, that this is about energy policy, and overwhelmingly the issue that's concerning Australians is cost of living, and how to get the cost of living down, how to get inflation under control, how to make sure that the next move in interest rates is down. Nuclear policy or nuclear energy is part of a policy response to an energy crisis, but it's not the totality of response to a cost of living crisis. And that's why we make sure that we're talking and addressing things that are concerning Australians. Inflation at 4%.
Well, do you think the coalition then needs to have more cost of living policies out now as we potentially could head into an early election?
Well, I think, look, firstly, our job as the opposition is to hold the government to account and to scrutinise their own policies, and I think we're doing that. Secondly, it's our optional, our reality is we need to offer an alternative. Now, we will be offering an alternative, a whole set of policies on cost of living, on housing affordability, on housing supply before the next election.
Okay.
But I think for now the job is to hold the government to account.
You've got to go. I'm not meaning to be rude, but I'm wrapping you because you.
Thank you so much.
Dave Sharma, thank you. Labor Senator Fatima Payman is abstaining